So let's get started. Again, we have groups from all over Google, and Jillian flew up from LA for the day. And so for those that don't know her, or know her from one of these different settings, you might know her from The Biggest Loser, or from one of her 8 New York Times best-selling books, or from her online fitness platform called Fit Fusion, or from her podcasts or her DVDs, or most recently her app, which launched on Google Play. All very excited about that. She's here to talk to us today about some of her lessons learned, her career journey, and then some of her health and fitness insights on the industry and where everything is headed. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Jillian.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. It's like kind of like Oz, but the wizard is real, so it's a trick. Anyway, yeah, I just, if there's anything that I can share or inform you with or answer questions, obviously about health and fitness. I don't know anything about what you guys do, and mad respect. So
there's
I'm
so
just
much.
excited to spend some time with you.
Great. So let's just get started about the path you took. How do you go about getting 100 million followers and transforming a fitness industry?
In my early 20s, I made great money, and life was a party. And then I turned about 24, and I was friends with people in the entertainment industry who were much older than me, and it was like, you need a real job, you need to be responsible. I was getting pressure from my mom, who was worried about me. What are you going to do with your life? You can't do this at 30 or 43, which you can actually. So anyway, I got a desk job in the entertainment industry, and I worked my way into a talent agency called International Creative Management, which was one of the big 5 at the time. And I hated it. But I mean, I guess you're supposed to hate work. I thought that's what you do. You hate work, and that's just part of life. So to make a very long story short, a bad day for your ego is a great day for your soul. And I managed to get myself fired because I just could not keep myself from telling this one guy how much of an asshole I thought he was. Anyway, not only was I fired, I was blackballed from working again because he happened to be a very powerful agent. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm now 27, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I had bills to pay. So I fell back into personal training because I had to pay bills. And ironically, a lot of the people that I worked with at ICM were coming to work with me. I was working at a sports medicine facility, helping to rehab patients who were injured. And they would come in, and it was so embarrassing, right? Here I am getting like ice packs, and I had been a junior agent. And to make a long story short, I get a call one day from somebody I'd been working with for a while, crying because she'd felt her hip bone for the first time in 8 years. And in that moment, I was like, all right, somehow I got so far off-piste. Like, this is clearly what I am good at. This is clearly what I'm meant to do. It's clearly what I'm passionate about and what I love doing. How am I going to make a business doing this? And not just like, you know, train one person, make $50, because I didn't see that being sustainable as I got older. And that's where the desire came, was first appreciating that you can make a living at what you're passionate about. And I think so many people believe that you can't, which is just not the truth. In fact, that's where you will find affluence and abundance, is if you're doing what you love and what you're good at. So over the years, I began studying other people who had built brands, not necessarily in fitness, and how they did it, and what platforms they utilized, and what their career trajectory was. And to a certain extent, some of that's a great idea, and some of it isn't. I definitely studied the landscape. I was very passionate about what I do. You need those two things, an understanding of the landscape, to be passionate about what you do, to learn from your failures and your mistakes, but you also need, you need to be flexible, and you need to pivot. And I think that's how we built such a big audience globally, was being able to pivot, change course, move on, not cry over spilled milk, not throw good money after bad, and be authentic with our message throughout all of it, no matter what the platform or the trend for people to consume content. Sorry, that was a really long answer. Jesus, okay.
That was great.
Sorry. Okay.
So can you talk, I think most of us think about, when we think about Jillian Michaels, we think about fitness. But we know, or I know from reading some of your books and from getting to know you better, how much more you are than that. Entrepreneur, which we'll talk a little bit about, philanthropist, author, and so on. So can you talk about expanding beyond, what you were originally known for, and how that's helped define your own personal brand and impact?
Sure. It's interesting because a lot of times people will ask, especially peers, when I speak to peers, they're like, well, why you? You're not a tremendous athlete. You don't have, your advanced degree in kinesiology. And I mean, I do study the science, but they've got a really good point. There are fantastic fitness trainers out there. So why me? And if I was to look at it, there were definitely some of those outlier elements of time and place. But I am a person that doesn't actually love fitness. I love what it does in my life. I love that I fit into my favorite pair of jeans. I love that, I can spar with my 5-year-old, my 7-year-old for hours. But when I'm at the gym, I'm not like, oh, fuck, I love this. I feel slightly nauseous and I'm really sweaty. My quads are shaking. I am in heaven. Not ever. That never happens. So for me, fitness has always been about building a better life, utilizing health as the platform your life is on top of, and utilizing fitness as an entry point to rebuild someone's self-worth and self-esteem. Because when you're strong physically, it transcends into the other facets of your life. And I learned this when I was very young, as a bullied kid in junior high when I got into martial arts. And so it's always been about empowering people, not about lunges. And I think that's transcended to my audience because they're like, well, that's relatable. I don't really love the gym either. And some people do. Bob Harper loves the gym. I call him the consummate weirdo. But for me, I like what it provides me. And I think that's what's been transcendent about our brand, is the bigger picture.
Got it. Awesome. And most recently, you've expanded into multiple other territories. We were meeting earlier about empowered media, and you've made a ton of really interesting investments. You also were talking a little bit about the research that you're very excited about on longevity. So what's been getting you out of bed most recently? There's a lot going on upstairs.
My 5-year-old. Fucker. Every morning at 6 a.m. Literally. I'm like, oh, God. But in truth, I do think, I'm lucky to have great friends and great family, and that gets me out of bed. And I'm lucky to love what I do. When it comes to work, what's getting me out of bed nowadays, I like the Jillian Michaels brand. For me, it's a snooze fest, which I love the app because I can it's the closest thing I can do to personal training, but I'm not super interested in my brand. I've done my brand and we know Jillian Michaels, got it. So the question is, how do we use platforms that have been created with the Jillian Michaels brand to grow other brands? It could be a better for you water, an organic nitro cold brew, an online healthy market that is creating accessibility and affordability like Thrive for people in food deserts. We're looking to invest strategically in better for you options that make health, happiness, and wellness more affordable and more accessible. And that's the kind of stuff that excites me now, is growing those kinds of companies. And I think that's what's going to change the face of wellness, are places like Thrive Market or younger generations that speak to Z, not just the millennials. And what is the message that they're conveying? And how can you help give them a voice and stand out amongst the noise?
Can you talk about how we should navigate things like gluten-free versus ketogenic versus paleo versus eating for your blood type, and most recently eating for your DNA? How do you know, there's navigating all of those different fad diets, but then also eating what's best, finding out what the best one is for you. How should we go about doing that?
Well, blood type and DNA, one day, blood type, no. DNA, yes, and we're about 25 years away from that, although we were 25 years away from it 10 years ago. Nutrigenomics, so, hopefully we will understand, wow, green tea turns off the breast cancer gene in me, but not you, but you can have turmeric and it will turn off ovarian cancer. That will be the future, and hopefully we'll get there in a way that all of us will be able to benefit from it, but we're not there now. There are two universal rules when it comes to food. Calories are units of energy. it's become so trendy to be like, I don't care what I weigh and I'm not getting on the scale. And that's bullshit. It might be trendy, but the scale lets you know when you're on track and when you're off. It's a compass. That's it. If you're trying to lose weight or maintain a healthy weight, the scale will tell you, hey, you got to make some changes or you're doing just fine. That's it. It's a barometer. That's all that it is. And calories are units of energy. So if you consume more units of energy than you're burning in a day, you will store it as fat. Fat is stored energy. Fat does other things, but that's what it is, right? It's stored energy. So I don't care how healthy it may be, we evolved over thousands of years to store fat for periods of famine that were seasonal. And we did not have red number 40 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 years ago. So yes, you can eat too much avocado or too much cashews or too many things and gain weight. So if you don't overeat, you will not gain weight. Then we get into food quality, which is what I just talked about. And I don't care if you're paleo or vegan, nobody should be eating hydrogenated fats, nobody should be eating pesticides, nobody should be eating growth hormones, and so on. 2 universal rules. When I look at the rest of the diets today, they really are, I look at them like a religion we were talking about. It's a choice. I'm Buddhist, awesome, great. I'm paleo, fantastic. I'm vegan, wonderful. So what I would simply say is that if you choose a diet, and generally they're macronutrient ratios if you think about it. So if you're choosing a diet to be vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, omnivore, paleo, there are certain pitfalls with every diet. As long as you're aware of them and you're not overeating and you're not eating poor quality food, you'll be fine across the board. So with paleo, make sure you're getting enough fiber and phytonutrients. Make sure the meat you're eating is organic. I mean, we could get into the environmental aspects of that, but that's not really the conversation. If you're vegan and you're a woman, men do much better on vegan diets because they don't, how do you say?
Menstruate?
Thanks for that. Appreciate you. I'm like a 5-year-old with shit like that. I'm like, you know that thing that happens? Right, so men do much better on vegan diets, believe it or not, because they actually have too much iron, but we lose iron every month, so females are more prone to anemia. As long as you're getting B12, a B12 shot, and good sources of iron in your diet, you'll be fine. And if there are allergies, like gluten allergies, then of course you'll know what your sensitivities are if you're lactose intolerant, and then you'll just avoid those things. When it comes to fine-tuning macronutrients, I would simply say listen to your body. And this is where, because people do convert food into glucose at faster or slower paces, I wrote a book about it many years ago, and it was based on, it's called oxidizer types. So the way you can tell, quite honestly, is if you eat a meal and it's predominantly fat and protein and you feel superb, then you likely break down your food very quick because those things break down very slowly. Now, if you eat whole grain toast and a little bit of fruit spread on top and you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, same thing. So that's a person that breaks down food more quickly, in which case, if you eat things that break down more quickly, you're gonna spike and crash. Whereas conversely, if you break things down more slowly, and you eat a ton of fat and protein and you feel like you've got a weight sitting in your stomach and you feel lethargic, you'll do better with more complex carbohydrates. So that's where I would just say, listen to your body. And the whole idea is really how much energy do you have? That's what will tell you, and how long do you feel satiated? So if you feel satiated for 3 to 4 hours and you feel like you can keep going without eating again, you've stabilized your blood sugar and you've hit that right ratio. And a great place to start is just be balanced. That's why South Beach did so well. 30, 30, 40, start there. And if you feel great, don't fuck with it. If you don't, tweak it a little bit and see what gives you more energy.
Awesome. So going back to the super helpful hearing a little bit about the navigating diet trends. One thing that's come up recently in the press, or maybe you've seen this in the past couple of years, is New York Times' deep dives on the role genetics is playing on your metabolism, and they've done some interesting work, like looking at the Biggest Loser contestants before and after.
That's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, so would love to hear about your thoughts on, is it nature or nurture? Is it like, baby, I was born this way, or is there actually something we can do about it?
Okay, well, we'll get to Biggest Loser in a minute. First, let's discuss genetics. Your genetics are as unique on the inside as they are on the outside, right? And for evolutionary purposes. With that said, How you respond to certain foods, right? We were talking about will be different for differing people. Some people are lactose intolerant, some have gluten sensitivities, some people, as we look at micronutrients, some people will respond to them in positive ways and some people it won't do anything for. But if you're looking at weight, everybody can be fit. Now, is everybody going to be a size 0 with this percentage of body fat? No, right? That's going to involve your unique genetics. Can anybody be fit and healthy? Yes. Is it easier for some than others? Yes. I mean, if I look at food, I will gain weight. I was an overweight kid. I mean, I cannot play those kinds of games. I just can't. It's not like, my partner can eat anything she wants and is still like, I'm just trying to put on 5 more pounds. I mean, that's genetics. But are we both fit and healthy? Yes. So you can dramatically affect the expression of your genetics for better or worse. So nutrigenomics, how does food express your genetics? Epigenetics, how's your environment facilitating the expression of your genetics? So we are all empowered for better and for worse, which brings me to Biggest Loser. And it's kind of interesting. So one of those contestants is a girl named Shay, who was one of the biggest contestants we'd ever had on the show. She was over 500 pounds, and she's still a friend of mine. And, they put the weight back on, and if they don't ask for help, I don't give unsolicited advice. So I was like, whatever, we're friends. I'm not going to say a word unless she talks to me about it. This is also a woman, and a lot of those people on that show, you have to understand, people watched it and it was a TV show, but for me, it was a life or death intervention on a ticking clock. And you're dealing with trauma, tremendous trauma. People don't get to 400, 500 pounds without deep trauma. It's not because they like pizza. It's not. I love pizza. I'm not 500 pounds. So this is a woman whose parents were drug addicts, who was in and out of the foster care system. So the study comes out, and she's like, I'm just curious what you think. I saw you said it was bullshit. I'm like, I think it's bullshit, Shay. And she's like, why? And I was like, tell me right now, are you eating 2,000 calories a day? No. Are you moving your body for 4 half hours a week? No. I was like, try that and get back to me. She lost 85 pounds again in 6 months, eating 2,000 calories a day, walking 4 half hours a week. Got diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Just got it out, and we don't even know if she's cancer-free yet. So that was kind of a bump in the road, but she's now maintained. So she's like 425 again. So it's like the minute we put her back on 2,000 calories a day and walking 4 half hours a week, 85 pounds falls off of her. This is, and you have to understand the psychology. There's a lot of shame that goes on. So it's like, no, the show did it. And when they were on the show, it was mommy and daddy did it. And what you really need in that scenario is a therapist. Because when you're eating like that, there's much deeper stuff going on, and people don't eat dangerously or engage in destructive behaviors because they're weak or they're stupid or they're lazy. It's affording them something, and it's affording them something very significant. And at one time or another, that destructive habit meant their psychological survival. So whether it was a connection to a loved one or control or protection, you won't know until you deal with the person. But to give that up is way deeper than anything we can comprehend on the surface. And that's what that animal is really about. It's not about food at all.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Well, it is, but not literally.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful insight. So switching gears a little bit, we talked about where you've been and what you've been doing most recently. Can you share or make a prediction on where this whole fitness industry is headed?
God, there's some things I see that really distress me. And then there's some things I see that I'm really hopeful about. I love the integration of technology because information is power, right? And I always tell people, if you have the right information, you can make choices that are going to yield powerful results. We get so confused thinking that action and intention are going to bring results, but in truth, if you take misinformed action, you'll have disaster. But if you take informed, very deliberate, specific actions, and you make informed choices, you're going to get, most of the time, really positive and powerful outcomes. So I love that technology is giving us this kind of information now. So we can see, like, okay, you're not working out hard enough, your heart rate's here, your burn was only here, it should be here, and then, you can tell when people have more, oh, I'm dying, and your heart rate's at 75, you're not dying, it just varies how far they walked, how much they've done, like that stuff's exciting, how much they slept, how much they had deep sleep, how much hydration they have, and so on. The part that is distressing for me, and I honest to God cannot tell if I'm just really old now, but is that, you turn on Instagram, and some of it I love. There are some trainers on there that I just love, and I constantly friend and dialogue with and think are great and watch them evolve and would like to put them on Fit Fusion and what have you. And then last night I was watching this one woman who was, because it makes suggestions, and she's working out with a chair in her room. So I'm watching it and I'm like, okay. And the next thing I know, it turns into porn and there's a camera and she's like, and I just, that part, I'm like, oh God, as a woman in general, I'm like, why? And I don't know, I ask these girls, I'm like, that this lives forever. What if you want to run for office one day? What if you want to go into medicine and there's your crotch living forever on the internet? And in the younger generation, they're like, we don't care and we don't think our peers care. And you know what? Maybe they don't. But I don't know what that is. It's not fitness. So and the look at me is also not fitness. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's validate me. And that's not what fitness should be about. Fitness should be about you validating yourself, not going and taking a picture for 10 minutes to find the right angle in the mirror so 50 people can tell you look good. So that stuff freaks me out, dude. And this is where I'm like, God, I'm old. But I love some of the younger personalities and the interesting things they're doing with actual fitness and the way they're incorporating technology to build community for people, and that part's really exciting. So I think it's the continued evolution of connectivity and community and accountability, as well as having more and more accurate information to get better results faster.
Great, thanks. And in terms of what we can do about it, so where do you see Google playing a role? I mean, what's holding us back from getting more people moving and healthier?
Okay.
We talked a little bit about Android specifically. We have 2 billion Android users that are actively on our platform. So we have a responsibility to help impact their health. Obviously, you have 100 million followers and are a huge influencer in the community.
Across the platforms.
What can we do?
The goal, in my opinion, is to make that information as simple, accessible, and effective as possible. So how can you give them information that is not overwhelming? It's kind of like what you were talking about today with your information layout and what you're giving them and what you're prioritizing, and how can you give them information that they're like, that I can do, they can afford it, they can access it, and they will see results. They'll feel better right away. Or like, hey, little tips. Hey, push them to sign up for Google Fit. And it's like, hey, enable this for us and we'll be able to do this for you. And I think it's just in really encouraging simple ways, because ultimately those baby steps yield far bigger results over time and meeting people where they're at. And that's the cool thing about what you guys can do with that phone, is that, and all your technology is, where they're at. You know where they live, you know what their economic status is, you know the foods they like. I mean, it's crazy. So knowing that, it could literally be like what you said. We noticed you've got this great park in your area. Go, maybe you should get out and go for a walk today. We've seen you've been sitting for several hours. And present company accounted for. And I think that support and holding them accountable because they're attached to a device or a watch or a screen can be really helpful. I mean, if I was to get really Machiavellian about it, I mean, I would definitely manipulate I would prioritize the proper information. Because I think that today I find younger people read it on the web and they're like, well, I read it. I'm like, but that doesn't make it true. So it's like kind of really looking at curating feeds on fitness that are, which I know you're not supposed to do, but I mean, if you're asking me, like making sure that the shit that's true goes to the top of the search.
Yeah.
And then shit that isn't, it's like, we want to pay for this ad about a tapeworm when you search, So, and it's crazy how many people are manipulating. It's like fake news, it's the same thing. Fake ads, fake this, fake that, and if they could curate that and kind of clean up some of that mess, I think that would help.
Yeah, Google's partnered with Harvard and Mayo Clinic to prioritize in the search knowledge panel information on health for the reasons you mentioned.
I didn't know that. I think that will make a big difference.
Awesome. Great. Well, those were the questions I had. I'd love to open it up to the audience. There's a mic that we can pass around. Don't be shy. Or Jillian's going to have you do burpees. So
right? Or it'll just be a really awkward silence. That too.
Okay, this might be too personal, but
I got a pap smear yesterday.
No, not that personal. How have your thoughts on marriage changed since before you decided to get married, and do you regret waiting as long as you did with Heidi?
I don't regret waiting. I mean, in truth, the only reason I can still see to get married is estate tax. I'm like, if I love you, who gives a shit? But, for her, it means something, and so I respect that. You know what I mean? But to me, because I think I've seen so many people, like, get married because they want the wedding, or get married because they think they should, excuse me, or get married because of the shoulds, not because of the wants. And I'm like, what are your shoulds? Because I want to be with you, I'll stay with you. I don't need paper to do that. But if it does prevent her from losing 50% again to the government, then yes, I'll do that. So, so be it. But I don't change that much. I'm flexible in that the people I love, I want to compromise, but you really have to show me something unique and new to change my mind about things, which I know is bad, and it does happen. But with that one, I'm like, meh. But I do it because I love her.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'm wondering, as a parent, how you balance, your kids and having a healthy lifestyle. Not wanting to guide them, not, do this, don't do that, letting them make their own choices, but helping guide them into having a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting with my kids? I've been really lucky because it just hasn't been that difficult. But if I look at why I think it hasn't been that difficult, in truth, they have very limited screen time. I'm like, you have a social network outside. Go outside. And we have the luxury of sending them outside. So it's they're not on screens, and so they're really fit because they play all day long. I mean, except for when they're in school and they're on the jungle gym, they're in the pool, they're on the trampoline, they're running around chasing each other with water guy. I mean, they're constantly bouncing off the walls. So I, honest to God, just let them. I mean, they don't stop eating, and I don't stop them because they're crazy fit. I thought that there might be a time where I was like, oh no, before having kids, like, what do you do if they're eating too much? But because they're constantly moving and growing, that's not been an issue for me. I do when they want stuff that's crap, or they see other kids having stuff that's crap. Like, they eat sugar, they eat fat. Like, I put organic Cheetos in their lunch. Luke's makes an organic Cheeto. Like, I put that in there. Or every day they get a treat in their lunch, but I'll put like an organic peanut butter cup from Justin's, or a little Ocho chocolate caramel bar that's organic. Because I'm like, they'll burn the sugar off. But their little bodies cannot handle the chemicals. Their organs aren't even fully developed. It's really dangerous for them. So that part I mitigate as much as I can. And I explain to them why. Like with my son, I'm like, if you want to eat that marker, I'll let you have that Otter Pop. Or, you can have an organic ice cream sandwich from whatever. I just discovered one the other day that they like. So I try to explain it to them, and I have, quite honestly, for the longest time. And I also look at people that they admire, whether it's Beyonce or Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, I promise you, Beyonce is not eating Fruit Loops. At least I don't think so. I don't think so. I know her trainer, and I'm pretty sure that my girl is not eating the Fruit Loops. So, and that helps,
So I think mine's a good build on that, because I want to ask you the same question, but about spouses. I don't have kids, but inspiring your spouse to, get in shape and stay in shape without ever making them feel like they need to or etc.
Oh, it depends on the spouse. There are two strategies you can employ to motivate someone. The first is you lead by example, and in truth, it's really all you have. You lead by example. You talk about the things that you want and perspective on the outcome. What's the why? If you have a why to live for, you can tolerate the how. What's your why? How do you see the future? Very innocently asking them what their why is, what they see for the future, letting them be motivated and inspired by your journey. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The other thing is to just literally crack them over the head with fear and concern. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the reality is that people remember that whatever the food or the behavior is providing them, it's something significant for them. They may not even understand it, you might not even understand it, but it has to hurt more to continue the way they've been living than the work and the fear and the loss associated with where you want them to go. And that's where if they see you being like, I'm afraid you're gonna have a heart attack and orphan our 2 kids. I really am, and you're just in tears. And it's not, you're an asshole, you're lazy. It's like, listen, I love you, I'm really afraid. This is a reality I think we're facing. And if you can hurt them enough, make them feel, or you're not hurting them, but make them feel the hurt of that, and it's more uncomfortable where they are than where they need to go, you've got another chance of them moving. But sometimes that stuff is so deep. And I can give you one example of what I'm talking about. So I give you many, but here's one. So there was a kid that I worked with on Biggest Loser for a little while, and he was doing great. He was like 18, he was there with his dad, they were both doing great. They went home for the holidays, and they all come back to the Biggest Loser ranch. Everybody's weighing in, and it's like everyone's doing great, and the dad gets on the scale, he lost nothing. And the room gets kind of quiet. The kid gets on the scale, and he gained like 5 pounds. They were gone for 2 weeks. And everyone starts with the bullshit of like, oh, the traveling and the food at the airport and they start, and that's not what it is. So I'm like, listen, just tell me what happened step by step. So he starts with, I packed my lunch and, with the surface stuff. And I go to the airport and this, that, the other. And I walk in the door and all my friends and family are there and there's my mom and she starts crying and not tears of joy. So it turns out that mom is morbidly obese, and upon seeing husband and son being significantly more fit, she immediately shuts down, withdraws, becomes depressed, feels like they're gonna abandon her, like they've outgrown her, they've left her behind. And so, it's the primal abandonment for him. What does he do? He slams the brakes on the weight loss and starts eating. What is the way to forward him? An emotional connection with his mother. You think you can change that easily? No. No way. So you got to appreciate that you may never know what the answer is or why they're attached to it. They may never know, but it has nothing to do with you. Those 2 strategies may work, they may not. You hear a lot of people say, well, I had a massive heart attack and then I changed my ways. Look at Clinton, massive heart attack, and then he changed his ways, but that's what it took. I hope that doesn't happen, but sometimes a rock bottom moment is necessary, and you can't facilitate that.
Thanks. I think we have time for one last question.
Yeah.
Hi, it's a fitness question.
Oh, there you are.
Right in front of you.
Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. So I'm just wondering, like, for you mentioned about fitness goals and about weight loss, and like a scale as your compass, and it totally makes sense. But what about if it's like a little bit more complicated? Like, if you want to lose weight, gain muscle, and how do you go about that with nutrition-wise? What to eat, when and what time after workout, before workout, and if you're gonna lose the weight, are you gonna sprint 5K, or are you just gonna do like a long just sprint, just short distances? You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I told you.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I've always wanted to ask you that.
All right. So first of all, women don't really gain muscle size. It's really hard. You could. You'd have to eat a lot of food and lift very heavy and really be extraordinarily diligent about that. We just don't have the androgenic hormones to we can maintain muscle, we can burn intramuscular fat, we can condition muscle, but to like literally make something bigger on your body by adding muscle, it's very hard to do. Like Mr. Olympia puts on 3 pounds of muscle a year. When you think like, God, is that all? I mean, if you take 3 pounds of hamburger meat and slap it on your body, it's a hell of a lot of muscle. But at the same time, like when you put it in perspective, because trainers are like, oh no, you know what you're doing? You're gaining muscle. That's bullshit. So it's not that you've offset loss with muscle gain. That's not true. So you really got to focus on one or the other. If you want to gain size, which I don't think that's what you mean, but you can't gain and drop at the same time. So, and fat does not turn into muscle. It's not lead into gold. So you would drop the weight and then start putting on muscle. With that said, if you're like, I just want to get leaner and I want to lower my body fat, which is what it sounds like you want to do.
Probably,
condition your muscle and lower your body fat. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you're consistent. What will get you there faster? Sure. High intensity training for shorter periods of time, 20 to 30 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week in conjunction with being really good about your diet will get you there the fastest. And if you take a long duration, low intensity day and make it like your off day or your recovery day, that'll get you there. Just take you longer because it won't affect your metabolism as intensely, or your EPOC, your afterburn, your elevated metabolic rate is not as great from lower intensity exercise. So high intensity gives you a greater burn during, greater burn after the workout's over. It facilitates improved fitness faster, which continues to allow for greater intensity, and it becomes, it gains momentum, and you work out harder, you get fitter, you work out, holy shit, forgive me. You work out harder, you get more fit, you burn more calories, and the cycle begets itself, if that makes sense. But there's not gonna be a right or wrong way. There's just gonna be a faster or slower way.
What about the eating wise, like what to eat and all that, and like to
If you wanna, what do you wanna lose?
like just 15 pounds or something, and also
Like
gain the weight.
15, but I would say, if you're in that vanity pound range, don't create more of a calorie deficit than 500 calories a day. Because I bet if I took you to the doctor right now, your blood pressure would be good, your heart rate would be good, your fasting glucose would be good, your cholesterol would be good, and your body is like, well, I'm perfectly healthy. Why is she starving me? And so it would signal a metabolic shift to slow down, because that's what metabolism is. It's biochemistry. It's the hormone balance of human growth hormone, insulin, cortisol, ghrelin. Let all of those things work in a symphony, and they are all responding to your environment and your food, your stress levels, and so on. So if you are reducing your calories too much and you're already fit and healthy, your body is going to signal a metabolic shutdown. So that's where with people like you, I'm like, go to no more than a 500 calorie deficit and eat clean. So if you're using your little contraption and it says, hey, you burned 2,000 calories today and you eat 1,500, that's really kind of where you want to be. And don't eat chemicals. Keep it simple. It doesn't need to be. Don't overthink it. When you overthink it, it's impossible to sustain. Just because something's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but at least if you can stick with it, it's a heck of a lot more accessible than too much information and all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. That was fun.